Welcome to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good Wednesday morning to each and every one of you. You against the world. Has it ever felt like that? That's what we're going to talk about today. Morning Devotion. Good to see you. Every one of you joining in. Georgia, Roy, Pamela, thank you for being a part of our great Morning Devotion family. Alert, 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 and everyone needs to be alert. Be alert and not a lurker. Okay, that makes no sense, whatever. But anyway, we are coming up this weekend and the next 2 weekends, Thursday through Sunday. Messiah. If you've never been to Messiah, POA, Alexandria, Louisiana, you owe it to yourself. Go to POA.church. Book some tickets, get over there, make a trip with your family, and you will be immortally blessed by it all. So go be a part of that great production and heartwarming, and so many powerful things happen. So welcome to all of you, every one of you today, the Morning Devotion family, you against the world. That's just the way it feels sometimes, just that you and you alone are standing there. And if you ever said it's just me, it's all me, well, I hope Morning Devotion family doesn't feel that way. You got a lot of people pulling for you here. Jacob's life. I'm focusing on a statement Jacob, yes, the future Israel, Jacob made in Genesis 42. Jacob's life had seen many victories, defeat, and we first see this man by the name of Jacob as he's second of the twin sons born to Rebekah. In that first glimpse, he's clutching to Esau's heel, signifying that he's going to be a wrestler, a grappler. Nobody's going to win against Jacob. We see Jacob with the birthright for a bowl of soup, and we see the swindling of Esau out of the paternal blessing. Jacob viewed that as a victory, even though he had to cheat to get it. That's just Jacob. Fleeing from an angry Esau. Jacob, I almost said seesaw. Ken, Joyce, I almost said fleeing from an angry seesaw. I've done that in my life a time or two, but fleeing from an angry Esau. Jacob is seen at Bethel with visions of glory. But then the payback came. He worked 7 years in hard labor for Laban, only to be swindled by someone a little more cunning than he was. To marry Rachel, he had to work 14 years. 21 years of service, he figures out a way to relieve his father-in-law of most of his sheep. And then upon returning home, he lost many of those sheep to Esau. Yes, 12 sons were born to Jacob, most by Leah, 2 by his beloved Rachel. Rachel's firstborn, Joseph, what a man he was, a coat of many colors, great dreams. But then the sons of Leah suddenly tell him that Joseph is dead, killed by a wild ram. Here's the proof, they said, Dad. Here's the coat of many. Isn't this his coat? And they left Jacob's mind to leap to the conclusion that his son was dead. Yes. Then adding insult to injury, a famine strikes the land so severe, it appears that Jacob, his 11 sons, the other family will starve. And when Jacob hears there's grain in Egypt, he sends his son to purchase grain. The prime minister of Egypt accuses them of being spies, and you know the story, and they hold Simeon hostage, and for some strange reason, this Egyptian official demands to see the youngest boy, Benjamin, and equally strange, this man kept asking about the well-being of their father, this strange man. When Jacob hears that Simeon was held captive by this mysterious Egyptian governor, he can't bear it any longer. His beloved Rachel is dead and gone. Joseph, well, he's dead. The famine so intent. And now Simeon is a prisoner in Egypt, and my youngest son, Benjamin, the only visible reminder I have of Rachel. He's about to be gone too, taken captive by a mysterious Egyptian official. Here's what he said. All these things are against me. I can't stand it. It's more than I can take. It's just me against the whole world. Don't you wish you could have stood there and said, Jacob, he's not dead. He is alive. Don't you wish you could have spread a resurrection message? He's still alive. Jacob, your son Joseph is still alive. He is that mysterious stranger in a distant country that's about to bring your family back together again, that is about to bring everyone into a new world and new understanding. Wow. Even when it feels like you are against the world, God is still at work in your life. Debbie, do you believe it? I believe it. Patricia, do you believe it? I believe that he is at work in our lives. If you're watching on YouTube today, don't be a lurker. Identify yourself, chat it up. If you're on Facebook today, the same. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Facebook. You Against the World. And yes, we have a big announcement. We don't know when it's coming. I'm guessing within the next 3 weeks we will be making this announcement. We've got to get a few things in place before we do it. It is a big announcement. It's a big announcement, and it's a tribute to you and what the Lord has done through you and through this devotion family. You Against the World. Now, I want you to notice a few things about Jacob. That's what he said. All these things are against me. Everything is against me. It's me against the whole wide world. I want you to notice a few things that we see in this passage in Genesis. Troubles occur simultaneously. Now, you're going to have trouble, but trouble comes in bunches, in clumps. One person theorizes that the original fruit, the apple that is portrayed in literature and paintings, that the apple on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was really the grained apple or the pomegranate. And the pomegranate has some 600 seeds inside of it. It just seems that trouble comes in bunches. Yes, in this world you shall have tribulation. As surely as the sparks fly upward, man was born to trouble. So the same dark hour which Jacob faced, you and I are going to face similar times. It's when this happens and that happens and this happens and that happens. It was proverbial wisdom in my father's family that if someone died, then 2 more people will die, because people always die in groups of 3. I don't know where they come up with that. But the truth of the matter is, it does come in clumps, in groups, troubles. I mean, if you heard that there was going to be an Airstream trailer convention somewhere in the United States, it wouldn't surprise you to see all of the roads filled with Airstream trailers being pulled to that convention. In the same sense, you're on the highway of life, and you may as well just get used to it. Troubles come. Oh, they come time and time again. When the job is lost, then sickness comes. Then the car breaks down. Then an error was made in the checkbook. And according to Murphy's Law, to correct your error, you must always subtract from the balance on hand. In other words, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Jacob said, Joseph is dead. Simeon's gone. Benjamin's taken from me. Rachel is dead. All these things are against me. It's me. It's me against the whole wide world. But hear me carefully. Morning Devotion family, how true this is. It's possible to misinterpret our troubles. Yes, that's it. We can misinterpret our troubles. Jacob in his perception, we see why he felt the way he did, but he misinterpreted his troubles. He thought Joseph was dead, but Joseph was the very prime minister in Egypt asking to see Benjamin and asking about his father's welfare. He thought Simeon was forgotten in a dungeon. Nope. The most powerful man in Egypt was this prisoner's friend. He shrank with horror from the loss of Benjamin, but it was just the love of an older brother longing to see his kid brother. Things never seemed darker to Jacob than at that moment when he said, all these things are against me. Didn't appear to be one star in the sky. But what he didn't know was about to shake his world. The sunrise follows the darkest hour. Yes, we can misinterpret our trouble. We can misinterpret our lives. We put the wrong slant on what we're going through. When life crashes in, when someone lets us down, when a friend turns their back on us, sickness, death strikes, financial difficulties, problems with the kids and family relationships, sorrow when it saps our strength and perspective. It's easy to imagine the worst. It's easy to believe it's just me against the world. Yes, that everybody's against me, that nobody cares. Jacob said, all these things are against me. It's the worst moment of my life, Jacob said. Jacob despaired, but oh, Jacob, a new day was about to dawn. Isn't it interesting in Genesis? Each day of creation, it says the evening and the morning were the first day, the evening and the morning, second day, and so forth. The Bible teaches that a new day begins with the night, the evening, then the morning. Yes. To this day, the Jews still practice a belief that day begins at sunset. In the same sense, that's the way it is spiritually. A new day is always born in the midst of trouble and in the midst of trial. You may be going through the roughest moment of your life, but just can I say that in these dark times, in these dark nights of the soul, in this time of testing when it looks like it's just you against the world, that there is a sunrise coming. There is a brand new day coming. Can I give you some Bible examples of that? Apostle Paul, he wanted to preach the gospel, desired to travel and visit all the churches. The whole world wanted to hear the gospel of Jesus. But here, Paul was chained in a Roman prison. He had been beaten. He could have screamed with Jacob, all these things are against me. But even while in chains, many of the letters in the Bible that we hold dear, Paul wrote while in chains. And it was through those chains that a new generation of leaders were arising to fill the gap left by the Apostle Paul. It was Paul's dream to reach the world. His dream, though, was fulfilled while he was in prison. Yes, we look at things wrong. When we feel like it's us against the world, God is working. What about the greatest and most supreme example of them all, Calvary? At Calvary, when Jesus hung upon the cross, the Bible says darkness remained for 3 hours. Disciples had turned their back on him. The world had crucified him. The heavens seemed to hide their face from him. His body rebelled against the pain, the humanity, the human side of Jesus Christ, sensed a forsaking by God. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? All these things are against me. This son of Jacob knew how Jacob felt. He was touched with the feelings of his infirmity. He knew what Paul felt at the moment of abandonment. But at that moment when Calvary seemed to be our Lord's Waterloo, his greatest defeat. But don't you ever forget that a new day always begins with darkness. For in a moment, Jesus Christ would lift up his face and cry, "It is finished," and suddenly the earth would quake and the graves would open and a temple veil ripped in twain and a new and living way was opened into the heavenlies. Wow. Jacob, Paul, Jesus. Someday, Jacob and Paul are going to meet in the glory world. They're going to talk about their days on the planet Earth. They'll smile, they'll laugh, and how often they say, how silly we were. How silly we were. And then the Lord will slip nail-scarred hands around both of their shoulders, say, no, you weren't silly. You were just overwhelmed. I remember a day on Calvary when it seemed all was against me. I knew the divine plan. I was that plan incarnate. But for a moment, humanity within me was overwhelmed. But look around. Do you see the mansions? Do you see the people laughing? Do you hear the worship? A new day has dawned, an eternal day. Here's what I would say. Gayla, Erica, Maria, we need to release ourselves into the unseen hands. When Jacob knew that food was absolutely necessary, he let his boys take Benjamin to see this strange Egyptian prime minister. It was when he released the most precious that suddenly he found everything he lost. Simeon came back. Benjamin came back. But most of all, that strange Egyptian official turned out to be his beloved Joseph that he thought was dead, but was really alive. But for all of that to happen, Jacob had to release that which was most precious to him. Jacob, you shouldn't have been saying all these things are against me. You should have been saying, God is working all of these things for me. In another country, we have someone much like Joseph. He's directing our affairs. He sends wagons of blessings to us. He allows struggles to happen. But many times it's just to open us up to what he wants to accomplish. He wants to carry us from point A to point B. He's got to move us from where we are, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, into the place he wants us. Maybe you're part of this morning devotion this morning, and you just say, Pastor, that feels like me, like that poor guy standing there facing the surf. It's just me against the world. It's just me. It's just me. You may think everything and everyone are against you. Maybe you feel like you're standing alone. But remember, you're never alone. And just because you can't see him at work doesn't mean God isn't working. He's got your best interest at heart. He's planning a rendezvous and reunion. I feel the presence of the Lord right now. It's not you against the world. It's God working everything that's come against you for the good, because he loves you and he's watching out for you. What a devotion thought. When Jacob said, all these things are against me. I've lost Joseph, I've lost Rachel, I've lost Simeon. Now I'm going to lose Benjamin, and there's a famine in the land. It's terrible. He didn't know that that dark night was about to bring a dawn that was so resplendent that his hurt and his ache and his sorrow and his pain were about to be healed. Take heart, folks. Take heart. If you're going through a struggle, just take heart. Hold on for the dawn. Hold on for the dawn. It is coming. Oh, yes, it is. It's coming in a more beautiful way than you can ever imagine. I wish you'd share this with someone. Encourage one another. Remember, POA.church. You can get your tickets to Messiah starting Thursday through Sunday this week, next week, and Easter weekend. Go, be blessed, and I know the Lord will bless you greatly. Share this with others. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Facebook. And until tomorrow, God bless.
Thank you for listening to Morning Devotion with Ken Gurley. Join us next time for another inspiring devotion. To support this ministry, please visit firstchurch.com/give.